Sure.
So we started chatting already, Preeti. So
Yeah, I
let
know.
me formally welcome you again. I started these conversations because, I'm not just fascinated by books, but also how writers observe people, make different choices in their life, and they create through different phases. I stumbled upon your latest book, People We Love. I think it's your 18th book already. Great. I have downloaded it on my Kindle. Unfortunately, I cannot get access to paperbacks that easily. But what I understood it has three stories in the book, and it is actually an extension of the characters which you already had in some of the books which you wrote before, like in 2016, 2018, and so on and so forth.
Correct.
Because these characters stayed with you, stayed with your readers for such a long time that
True.
you again went back to those books as a reader and you decided to write the story.
True.
So tell me more about this book. I'm almost halfway through it. I loved some of those characters. I can see myself and a lot of my friends around
Yeah.
in those characters. So tell me a little
Yeah.
bit more about this book and the process of writing this.
So they have characters from two of my most popular books, which is The One You Cannot Have and It's All in the Planets. So when I wrote those books, it was so many years back. It was in 2013 and I think 2016, no, or maybe earlier. I don't remember the years, but it was a long time back. So I felt, and then my publisher came to me with the idea and said, why don't you create books? Why don't you create a book of short stories with characters from your previous book?
Mm-hmm.
So what happened is I went back, I read it. I said, okay, fine, I can write what happened. I can see my evolution as a writer. So it was a very hard thing for me because the writer I was in 2013 is not the writer I
Mm-hmm.
am in 2026. So it
True.
was really hard, but then it also brought a lot of young energy because that book is a lot of young people. And I was much younger then. So for me, I had to step into that young mind, the insecurities of the 20s, the relationship fears, you've not made it in life, you've not yet found success. Like today, I'm in my 50s, I'm very assured. It's a very different life. But I have children who are that age now. My daughter is 25, my son is 28. So I know exactly what goes on in the minds of 20-year-olds, and I'm very close to my children. So to that extent, I would say the challenges which the young people faced today or 10 years back, those challenges remain the same. The way to solve those challenges might be different because today we
Mm-hmm.
have ChatGPT and Claude and everything, whom everyone makes it their therapist. But essentially, the problems remain the same. So I had to go back and I had to get into that young energy mindset to write
Mm-hmm.
this book. And I must say, it was pretty hard because those books are detailed, the worlds are detailed. There are so many things which happen there. So, what happened before everything happened? Because I felt that is being true to the book because that's the story I wanted to tell. Because in those books, what happened was it's kind of the aftermath. The one you cannot
Mm-hmm.
have, the title itself tells you it's kind of aftermath. So, how did it come to that? So then I said there were stories there, and that's how I wrote this book.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, how you keep writing through different phases of your life, and your readers also kind of constantly evolve and go through different phases of their life. But do you
True.
still see that there is something which has stayed constant in your voice or in the way you want to tell your stories? Is there something which hasn't changed at all since you started maybe 2 decades back?
So what people tell me, and this is a review I received today. So what they tell me is we felt everything that the characters feel.
Mm,
And they were telling me that back then also. They are
mm,
telling me the same thing today too. So that I feel grateful for the emotional connect which a reader feels when they pick up my story. They feel it's real. They feel Aniket is real, Nidhi is real. They exist somewhere in the world for them, and that's a great compliment which a writer can get where you make characters who are 360 degrees believable, fully rounded characters, and whom people want more of. That I feel is a huge compliment. And I feel to that extent, see, my writing might have become more sophisticated now, it might have, but the core of it remains who it is. And I think that's
relatable
how
characters,
relatable characters, emotional depth,
depth.
because they are
Mm,
not, see, while the stories are set in today's world, all of my stories have a certain emotional depth. So whether I'm writing about Alka from the Homecoming or whether I'm writing from Nidhi from you know the one you cannot have, or someone from It's All in the Planet, the emotional depth and what the reader feels when they read it, I think that remains the same.
I remember reading your book, The Secret Wish List. I think I finished that book
Yeah,
in like
third
two
book.
days.
Yeah, third book. Yeah, yeah.
I remember reading it, and it was like so nice, and it was such a it was I recently had gotten married, and it was like such an interesting book for me to just read, and and that's what I'm trying to say. Like your books come at like different stages of your life, where you
Yeah.
either think something that may happen in the future, or it takes you back to your own life, which you have lived already, or you have lived through, and takes you back into some memory lane. And I have myself personally felt it, so I can only understand how your readers may have felt. But do you see that your readers in 2026 um, are different? Because we keep hearing about the shortening attention span, we keep hearing about chat gpts writing books, and people hooked onto Netflix all the time, and YouTube shorts. And do you think the readers have changed or have evolved for the good or for the worse? I
I
don't
can
know.
say me as a reader, because I wouldn't know what goes on in the reader's mind. Because honestly, when I'm writing a book, I'm not thinking about the reader at all. I'm thinking about the characters, I'm thinking about the world, I'm thinking about how to tell a story in the best way I possibly can. I read a lot and I review a lot of books. I've reviewed more than 200 books. This year, I was on the jury as well of Author Award. So I read 23 books in 35 days,
Wow.
23 books. So in a day, I was reading 6 hours. And that's when I realized I actually can read.
Hmm.
I put away my phone and I realized that I thought I couldn't read that much, but that was false. So it took me right back to the time before smartphones and the screen invaded our life. And it was such a fantastic feeling to fall back into reading.
Wow. That could be a goal, no? 6 hours a day at a stretch. Read a
It
book.
was hard. I did it because I was on the jury and I wanted to do justice. I didn't want to simply skim through. So I
Hmm.
was reading, making notes, giving marks. But would I be able to sustain that kind of reading? Definitely not, because it affected, I had to literally put my work aside and do this work of reading. But I was very determined. But my point is no need of 6 hours, but we can dedicate 1 hour. And
Hmm.
I think it is important somewhere to switch off those phones, and because those things are optimized to keep you scrolling. So
Yes.
you are not becoming any smarter. So you really, the smartphone is smart. We are becoming dumber if we keep
Absolutely.
scrolling.
And there are world renowned, most experienced programmers and developers working behind those apps
Exactly.
to ensure that
Exactly.
you are hooked to it, right?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, you have dopamine spikes, right? Because they keep
Absolutely.
feeding you dopamine. So every reel won't be nice. Because if you're getting the dopamine hit every time, you won't keep scrolling. So
Correct.
their aim is to make you keep scrolling. Your aim is to
Absolutely.
read more books. So as long as
I
you
like
keep
that.
that goal in mind, as long as you keep that goal in mind, I think the only way forward, where if you want to expand your knowledge and increase your vocabulary, increase your empathy, then you have to read. There is no other way. Like, of course, you can read summaries of books by ChatGPT, Claude. It's just not the same. Because
Yes,
certain things happen in your brain when you read. Different
correct.
muscle group gets used when you read. Different group gets used when you write. Different thing happens when you run. And it's important for us to have like a balanced thing where we use all these different areas of our brain. So, to that extent, I feel the reader has to make a conscious effort today to not be distracted and to read and find good books. Don't read boring books
Yeah.
because it's
Yeah, I think it's also very important that you like put down a book, and you are like really very ruthless about putting down a book after, let's
yeah,
say, after it doesn't hook you for more than 20
yeah.
or 40 pages. Like I think you could be a little bit ruthless around
I
um,
give it 50 to 60 pages.
yes,
And
yes.
the same thing I tell my kids about a TV show. Sometimes they'll tell me, watch a TV show. I'll tell them I'll watch 3 episodes. After 3 episodes, if it doesn't do it for me, I'll drop. But usually, once they recommend, I end up watching.
Wow.
And again, like I feel it's a choice. It's a choice you're
Hmm.
making because we all have limited time. What are we going to do with this limited time. In my 50s, I've become more and more conscious of how I spend every minute.
Yes.
So it's very deliberate, very deliberate. If I'm giving time to something, it's because it deserves my time, not because it's hijacking my time.
Yes.
And that's, I think, it's a very important
Very
distinction.
important. Very important, Preeti.
Yeah.
And I think this comes as a shift, at least for me personally. This shift came only after I turned 40, probably,
Yeah.
because that is probably a time when you start believing that, your energy is very important. You should protect it and it
Absolutely.
should not
Yeah.
be given anywhere. Okay, now I come to a little bit of a selfish question because I am writing a book. I wanted to ask you, how does your first draft look like, or how it used to look? Is it something that you scribble on a piece of paper, or how does it, how is your writing process essentially, and how has it evolved over the period of time?
So my first maybe 12, 13, maybe 14, 15 books maybe, I would write the outline in a little notebook. So every time I started a book, I would write the entire outline and all of that in a notebook. But I think the last few books, I think write the outline directly on the computer. So I write my outline, I develop my characters, I do my research, and then once I have the idea, of course, and the idea which stays with me is the idea which lasts the longest. I'll have many ideas. So then I keep thinking about it, and my runs help a lot because I think
Hmm.
it's very important for a writer to spend time alone where you can switch off from all your other duties of
Hmm.
your from your job, from your home, from your kids, and all of that. And it's important to go. For me, I spend a lot of time in solitude, and then I begin to write. It's only when I have created complete characters, complete world, then I start to write, and then the story almost reveals itself. So that's usually been my process. The last three, four books I would have probably not written by hand. I would have probably written directly on the laptop. So that's usually my process, and that hasn't changed.
And how do you then go about the further drafts? Like, do you also have people who read through it? Do you yourself do it for successive draft? Because I read somewhere that writing is only rewriting,
Yeah.
and it has a lot of impact if you keep on looking at stuff, looking at a sentence even to that level, that you can write it in different ways, and slowly it gets better and better with every draft. So how do you take revision as an exercise for your book? Typically, how much time you spend, considering you write so much? I am a little bit curious.
Yeah, so I will revise. See, for me, I'm a perfectionist. Okay, so I will make it as perfect as I can. So generally, the first draft I'll write, and then I'll know that the certain things are excess. Like I will mostly cut about 15% or 20%. I'll cut it, especially in the beginning. When you start writing, you yourself are discovering the characters.
Exactly.
Because a lot of it is for you. It's not for the reader. So the
Mm,
reader doesn't have to come in at the beginning of your thought process. The reader can be dropped in somewhere in the middle of the story, and then you reveal. And that comes in the second draft or the third draft.
mm,
Do I check every sentence? Mostly no. That comes in the edit. But I do check the structure. I do check what happens. I do check if certain things can be removed altogether. And sometimes it's like a long book. It's very, very long. And then I realize, okay, I have given a lot of like details which are not really needed. I remove it. I have my early readers. I trust their opinion. My editors have been very good. The last few books, my editors have been excellent, and I trust their opinion. My editors tell me I'm very easy to work with because I'm like, okay, tell me what's wrong. Tell me what's wrong. Improve this. So, and I'm happy to like work and rework because I accept that nothing is perfect. No work is perfect. No book is perfect. Even a book which has won the Booker Prize, if that person were to write it again, that person will change because
change.
that's just how it is. Being an artist, we constantly are striving to do better. So at some point, I let go, but yes, I do write and rewrite, and I think there is merit in that. But I think it's important to get that first story out first in its very rough form.
Mm,
So if I were to say, I would say it's like clay. Okay, first you have this lump of clay. This is your ideas, your plots, your characters. And then you make a shape. And then you make the fine details. And
mm.
then you remove what is not needed from that clay where you get a little shape. And then you carve out the very, very fine details. And then you add the little color and all of that. That's how I look at it.
Very interesting. Like I said, like I love the way authors think about their stories and how they collect all these pieces. And of course, a lot of it when you're writing is also inspired by your life or your living
Yeah,
moments, your lived moments, let's say.
yeah.
And how does your personal life or your life that you have lived in the past impacts your writing? How does memory, how does your lived experience impacts your writing? Or does it play a
I
role?
think a lot of writers borrow from their own life. I remember you mentioned secret wish list. So in that, I remember there's a scene where this boy brings this bag, and this girl has the same bag. So and then she takes the bag inside, thinking it's her bag, and then he's looking for it. He's her brother's friend,
Mm.
and then he's looking for the bag, and she's also helping him look, thinking that someone stole the bag, and that was directly from my life. That incident actually happened. So I met the person recently and I said, "Do you remember this?" I said, "I put it in a book," and he laughed. And we laughed
So
together.
people who meet you should be careful. They might get featured in any of their book, any of your
But
books.
they won't recognize. They won't
Recognize
recognize
it.
because
You
as writers, you'll change
yes,
everything, you'll embellish because otherwise there's
yes.
no difference between a reporter and a writer.
You have to be a good
Because you can just,
liar, I think, no, if you are a fiction writer. Or you have to
I
know
wouldn't
how to put the truth in a very interesting, colorful manner.
see the
Do you think it's
incident
an
themselves.
essential tool?
I don't think so because I think it's that's where your imagination comes in. You can call
Mm,
it because your job is not to see whether something is truth or something really happened exactly the way you
mm,
describe, or what are you going for? What is the role of that incident in the story? Is it to move the plot forward? Is it to make the reader happy? What is the purpose of putting it there? Or are you simply writing all your memories? Because in that case, it will be
it'll be
meaningless.
very
So
meaningless.
how
Yeah.
does it fit? So I don't think I think that's a very, very simplified way of looking at it. So I think there's a lot more in terms of plot, in terms of mechanics, in terms of dialogue, in terms of what it's doing to the story. All of that is important for it to be a good book. So it's not that you just lift off incidents from your life and write it
Mm,
and it becomes a book. It won't. It will be very boring.
mm.
You might be interesting only to you,
You
not
might think it
anybody
is
else.
interesting, but then the book may not turn out to be that
Yeah,
interesting in that way.
yeah,
But I
exactly.
don't know, maybe if you would relate to this because you don't write mystery or thrillers. But
Yeah,
Agatha Christie once said that you have to be very, very fair to your readers. You
yeah,
cannot kind of hide things just for the sake of it. You have to be very, very fair and honest with your
yeah.
readers. But at the same time, the way you build the mystery, the way you build the plot is very, very important. And I struggle with that a lot. I sometimes feel that maybe this is a wrong genre that I have put because I'm so bad at kind of hiding my emotions or hiding my or hiding secrets. Let's say I'm very bad at keeping secrets. So, do you think
Mm.
for mystery writers, if you can like just imagine yourself to write mystery or the books that you have read, what do you think can be an essential quality for a writer to ensure that they're able to build a interesting plot or an interesting mystery or a secret
So
that they want to reveal in the end.
I have written stories which are so dark thriller stroke
Hmm.
mystery stroke,
Okay.
and it's not in a physical book form. They were ebooks and they are available. And for me, I tried to look at what Roald Dahl does essentially. So I love his writing for adults. It's
Okay.
very
Roald
dark
Dahl.
and
Hmm.
very, yeah, super brilliant. If you haven't read, I think that's a master class in
Yeah.
writing. And I try to bring that in, I try to bring that in, and I would like to think I'm fairly good at it because it's very different from my other genres. And I think it doesn't matter whether you're writing mystery, it doesn't matter whether you're writing romance, it doesn't matter if you're writing historical fiction. I think the essential bones of storytelling remain the
It's the
same.
same.
Remain the
Hmm.
same. See, you cannot reveal everything about the character in the first page itself just because you like the character. It's like peeling the layers of the onion. The reader has to go slowly, slowly inside and discover. And if something is important, you have to mention it in passing, but not so much in passing that it's completely lost. So later when they go back and read it, oh my God, yeah, that's what this was doing. So most of my stories tend to be like that. They read it and say, oh my God, I did not expect
This
this. Then
is
they go
this is
back
what it
and
is
read
about.
it.
Okay.
Yeah,
So do you
at
think
least for me.
writers, sorry, please continue.
Yeah, yeah.
completely.
No, no. For me, it's like that is what I was saying.
So, do you think writers, especially debut writers, should free themselves from this whole genre trap? And first, they should just try to write a story and not think about the genre, because
I
the
think
genres
so.
are like so suffocating at times. No, like even
Yeah, yeah,
writing
yeah.
thriller, you will be like, is it a psychological thriller? Is it a cozy crime? Is it a police?
Yeah,
And then the more you know, the more you try to kind of
yeah,
box
yeah.
yourself, the more difficult it becomes for you to like push the story ahead and write.
See, the genre matters only in a bookstore and only for a publisher. Okay, so when you go to a bookstore, they'll put it in some science fiction, they'll put it here, they'll put it there.
Hmm.
So it does not matter. It does not matter what your genre is. Do not think about your genre for a debut writer if you're writing the story. Tell a story. When you write one book, second book, third book, then only then you will know what genre are you actually writing. So
Okay.
it might be a genre which never exists in the world before. Because
Yeah.
see, the fiction is so vast. It can be magic realism. Maybe you want something else to happen. Maybe you want this also. So I always find it hard when people say romance, okay? Because my books are not just romance. There's
Mm.
so much more in my books. There's societal problems. There's women's liberation. There is mental health. There is
Yes.
so many things. So I cannot say. So, and then you can just, probably abroad, they'll probably call it upmarket fiction. That's what they'll
Okay.
call my. So it doesn't really matter what people
What they want
call.
to
What
call.
your job is just to tell a story in the best possible way that you can. And only when you write second book, third book, fourth book, will you actually find your voice. And will you actually gravitate towards the stories you want to tell. And for all you know, you might discover that you just want to write young adult books, which is fine. Like, write
Yeah.
young adult books because that's write the kind of book you want to read.
Absolutely. There is a
Yeah.
quote, Preeti, which says, never meet your heroes. Over the years, you may have probably become the person for many readers and aspiring writers like me. What do you hope people discover when they meet you? I think before we started talking, you also said that you are exactly the same the way you are on social media and in person. But what is that one thing you would want people to know or take back when they meet you? Uh, and whether it's in launches or wherever, like what is that one feeling that you would want people to leave after they meet you?
Honestly, I'm not thinking about what will they take at all.
That's what I've heard from a lot of almost all my people who I admire, that we are not
Yeah,
thinking
because
about it
you're
really.
you're not meeting people to cause an impression. Like whatever they take, they take. Okay, someone might tell, oh, she thinks too much of herself, which is fine. Someone might say, oh, she's very humble, which is fine. I think that's a part of being a writer. It does not matter. See, a lot depends. It's like a mirror. Okay, a person goes into a room and he sees 1,000 mirrors. Okay, and this person is a very grumpy person. So he makes a very grumpy face and he comes back and says that room is full of people who are grumpy. Another person goes in, that person goes in smiling. Person comes out and say, oh, that world, it's a beautiful room, it's smiling. So a lot of it also depends on what that person is bringing to the meeting. It's not just me. So how can I control or not control what that other person takes away? That's completely on them. So I will just be true to myself. I will be honest and I will be polite. I will always be polite. And that's it. Like, other than that, I don't really much think of what will they think about me. Because if you start thinking that, you can never write.
Absolutely. Who are your
Yeah.
heroes, Preeti? Do you admire some authors that you always go back to? Or do you sometimes feel that these books I love so much, I don't know if I would ever want to meet the people who have written it? Because I think now only in the age of social media that we have
Yeah,
access to the authors so much.
exactly. Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
even if I dreamt of meeting Agatha Christie, I would have, even if I lived in that time, I would have never been able
Yeah.
to do that. So
Yeah.
what is your thought on this? I often wonder how people think about this.
See, there are so many authors whose writings I admire, whose personal lives have been horrible,
Yeah.
horrifying when it came out. But does
Yes.
that take away from the books they write? No, because they are still brilliant writers. So, and when I went to Madame Tussauds in London, long back, many years back, so everybody was taking photos with whoever, whichever idol. Only one statue I took a photo next to, which was Oscar Wilde, because I was like, wow, Oscar Wilde. I so admire his writing. And I proudly took a picture there. But other than that, would I want to meet those people? See, they are just normal people like you
Mm.
and me.
Yes.
So unless the person I would rather, like, my time is limited. I would rather meet my friend. Why would I want to meet the author of some book because I've already met them through their books. I already know what
Yes,
their mindset is. I already know what their thinking is. You already have met them through their books. So I don't think it's so important. And I feel like social media, yes, definitely has made it easier because earlier authors only lived in book covers.
correct.
Now they're so accessible. You just tweet, and I think it's very important for authors to not get affected by
Yeah,
these baits which people put on social media,
yeah.
because it's so easy to say something to
Get
get
carried
someone.
away, no? Yeah,
Yeah, and attention is the thing that people are waiting to steal. So you be very careful about what you pay your attention to. It's so important.
absolutely, absolutely,
Yeah,
Preeti.
yeah.
Your book
One
starts with
moment.
a
Okay? One of my cats is just mewing continuously
no
at the door.
problem.
I'm so sorry. One moment. Come here. Come here, Harvey. Come here. Yeah, this one is the culprit. Yeah, this is, yeah, she's not just not letting me speak.
No worries. We are almost through this, Preeti. I just wanted to ask you one last question. Every book begins as a whisper. It's never a grand idea. So, what is your
Yeah.
next grand idea? You started your book with this. So, what is your next book
Yeah.
going to be? What are you
So
thinking?
I'm already working on it. So it's going to be, it's something very close to my heart. Like, I am also an artist. So I do every day, I draw my day.
Yes.
So I have an illustrated journal. So the next book which is going to come out, actually there's one which is going to come out before that. That's going to be a graphic novel of one of
Wow.
my thing which I have already worked on, which I'm super, super, super excited about.
That will be
That's coming
interesting.
out in September. Because imagine like your novel coming to life through art. That's one.
Wow.
But what I'm currently that's already done. All the editing and everything has happened. One I'm very excited about is it's this book of illustrated essays, which I'm super excited about. So it'll be like these brief reflections, but with my art. So for the viewers, they can check out Preeti Makes Art, because my old art account got hijacked and now I have a new art account. So I draw every day, I post every day. And finally, so it'll be these short reflective pieces accompanied by original artwork. And that's what I'm working on. I'm really excited about it because completely different from any of my anything that I have
Anything
worked
that you
on.
have done. Very
Yeah.
interesting. Very interesting. It was lovely talking to you, Preeti. Thank you for taking out the time. I wish you all the best and hope to
Thanks a
see
lot.
you soon. Thank you.
All the best with your book,
Thank
Priyanka.
you. Thank you, Preeti.
All the
Thank you.
very best.
Means a lot.
Thank you.
Bye.